Trader.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting week of As the Market Churns. Dun, dun, dun. Wow, what a Monday morning. Actually, my trading partner and I were actually very busy here this morning. Having some fun. It seems to be quite a popular setup. This ICT person, and now like about 50 different sort of spin-off videos. Hey, man, learn this setup and you could quit your day job. So anyway, having some fun playing with that this morning, as well as doing opening range trades. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to get the orders in fast enough and the market just took off. But my trading partner, he did pretty well on that this morning. So way to go, trading partner. And actually, we're going humming on about whether the old corn here wants to hang in here. You can see we're painting an inside bar so far on the weekly charts. And on the daily charts, it looks like the market's actually threatening to start smiling at us. So if this market, it did actually trip up that double top level there, you can see. And I just basically said, well, it might have been just a knee-jerk, liquidity hunt, that kind of thing. But if we do start moving through these lows in earnest, I think I'll just close out this little bot setup here and declare victory. So a bunch of different things on the go here today. And then, of course, it is Monday. So we should probably take Monday with a big grain of salt anyway. If we look at sort of the broader market, I think probably the big message that I'm sort of seeing out of the market here today is the US dollar index itself. It's kind of getting thumped. Got a little bit of a double top breakdown working there off of the 4-hour chart here. Kind of trapped in a trading range, sure looks like. And, maybe you might even argue that there's big smiles here forming. So, which actually confirms right in here. So actually sell signals there, and maybe this is like a bearish ABCD that's forming. Would make sense. We won't see the Fed again for quite a while. And I think the economic data is kind of sketchy. And right now, of course, probably the big overriding the news, which is ironic because I think that the last time we went through one of these events, this big debt downgrade of the United States of America, there was a huge sort of, oh my God, the market's going to collapse on this downgrade, and there was a huge sort of run into U.S. Treasuries on the downgrade, which makes no sense. And it kind of looks like that's the same thing. I think it's almost like they started out overnight thinking, oh my God, this downgrade's going to be a nightmare and it's horrible and oh, it's the end of the world. And you can see here is basically the retail open, and all the bonds have done is just rallied since the actual retail open. So try and figure that one out. So kind of mixed bag, but if anything, I'm seeing a lot of sort of risk on messages. Ironically enough, the one place that I'm not seeing it is in sort of the, and I think you might even call it like the flight to quality. I don't know whether you want to use that term, but sort of the safety proxies within crypto. So like POW names, Litecoin, Bitcoin, they're kind of looking toppy here. Bitcoin dominance, kind of looking toppy here. And yet Ethereum, look at that. Gee whiz, that looks like a bull market. And of course, the total crypto market cap, look at that, just booming higher here. So stocks pointing up. NASDAQ actually did put in a bit of an M top here earlier this morning, but seems to have broken that. And you can see the Russell 2000 tried to break and in essence popped higher here. And this is all basically right after the retail open here this morning, especially with the Dow just surging higher there. So as well, you can see there is the US dollar in the short term. That's that big down move there. Euro's catching a pretty nice bid here. And the commodity currencies all seem to be catching a bit of a bid. And of course, interestingly enough, look at the darn crude just taking off here. And I actually think the crude is spitting out buy signals here. So if we look at like the daily, weekly basis, of course, we have that massive weekly top now in crude oil. So on a weekly basis, it definitely looks like we've rolled over. But if you just draw right now, just really keep it simple, stupid, just the most basic of trend lines, you could see that we could easily have a rally back up to like 84, $85 here, no problem, just being within the context of the downtrend. And you can also see that the sort of structural level, and we should expect a test of this level. They call it Wyckoff checks, that kind of thing. Horizontal support and resistance, all that kind of talk, liquidity pools, rah, rah, rah. But that's right now at about $80. And here we are at 78 and change. Geez, you could easily see this crude jump up a couple bucks here, no problem. And actually, this is a really good illustration of the concept that I teach in the level 2 program when we talk about moving averages, is what I like to call a moving average sandwich. So I think that the 30 SMA has acted as support here, and the 13 EMA on the weekly charts. 13 EMA is going to act as resistance. And my hunch is by the time this sort of slowly works its way up into this Wyckoff check level, you'll find that the 13 EMA sort of swoons down here. So it looks to me like there's a bit of upside in the crude oil market here. And then if we actually look at the daily, and I would say it's in the context of a downtrending market. So this isn't a new bull market. This is just a market that's just gone probably way too far, too fast. So if we look at it in the context of the daily chart, well, you can see that there is that downtrend line. And this is, I think I even talked in the public videos that I did recently. This is basically an inside bar. Can you call that harami? Classic Japanese candlestick aficionados would say just as long as baby's body is within mummy's body. I would call this a bull rammy because you can see part of baby's feet are actually sticking out of mummy's yaya. So, and also too, part of baby's head is sticking out of the top of mom's body. But I would definitely call it an inside bar. And what's also interesting about this, and you don't see this every day, but take a note of it. Pretty important event here. This is what's called an island reversal. So you notice there's a gap to the downside, and then a corresponding gap to the upside. Can't really see it. It's kind of hard to see, but nonetheless, if I zoom in, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So anyway, there's the gap to the downside, and this is what's called an island. In this case, an island bottom. So you can see water, water. This is the island, and we've gapped higher here. So that's actually a pretty powerful reversal pattern in candlesticks land, bar chart land, I suppose, as well. Be a little bit harder to see it on a bar chart, but nonetheless, I think that's a pretty significant event. I think you could also make the argument it's a little harder to see, but this is a 3-bar fractal, so a move above this inside bar's high there, which is 77.17. That's actually a buy signal, and sure enough, up we go. As I had said, to start out the day, I actually had fairly well-defined opening range trade setup. Levels come in, trading partner, he's trading off the DOM, which would, I guess, just be something like just placing your orders, your bid, your buys and sells just right off of the DOM.
I'm actually not trading off the DOM. I'm just trading directly off of TradingView itself, and I'll just drag and drop my orders after submitting
Right
them
on the actual chart.
right on the chart. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, I stand corrected. So you heard it from trading partner's lips himself. I don't know. Does the public hear you talk? Do you have that enabled, or are they just thinking
They
I'm talking to
should
myself here?
no, they should be able to hear me. You are not talking to a ghost.
Anyway. So I get the impression that a bid's coming back into the commodity markets. And you can see crude oil lifted, silver, and the gold actually quite surprising to see the strength out of the gold market here today, which is leaving me scratching my head because this is this funny situation now. Looks like Bitcoin's probably going to be pulling back here now, and gold's going to be counter trend rallying. I do believe that these two are highly correlated. It's just my sort of way of looking at the market. Um, but let's see how this thing plays out. It should be interesting to see. Gold's catching a bid. Bitcoin's looking a little toppy. And also, too, you can even see it. This is making lower highs and lower lows. And there goes Litecoin. Litecoin's already breaking here. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy going on here. Um, it is Monday, and the problem is I don't know whether I can really believe too much of what I'm seeing in the market today. On days where there just isn't that much economic drivers, I mean, the S&P 500 breadth, it did tick back up here on Friday, which is kind of interesting. And as I said, we're practicing this ICT setup. I'm always open to learning new setups. I mean, teach an old dog new tricks kind of thing. And this was an interesting one. So, if I understand it correctly, but of course, I think it's highly open to interpretation. But we had an interesting low put in through the London session. And if this really was a bear, we would have gone careening through these levels and broken down and, oh, the sky is falling. You've often seen me on my like 4 hour charts. I will point out the horizontal support and resistance. So I think that was actually a pretty important horizontal support and resistance. And we're sort of, their challenge is do this for 90 days and you'll be convinced that this is the best setup ever. So anyway, today's day one. So let's see how we go. Did sort of take a couple shots. I was thinking maybe, okay, maybe that's the level, but we went blowing right through that. So the question here was, did you get a market structure change? I think that's what they call it, or MSS or something like that. Which I thought was maybe this, and then we work a stink bid, and boom, got stopped out. See you later. Take a 9 tick loss. Then there was this liquidity pull. Okay, well maybe this is the one that we're working on. So blow it out. Market rallies back. All right, accepts higher. All right, and I don't know whether I really like this one or not. But Chris had even pointed out overnight that he really liked this level, and sure enough, that was the money. And what's interesting is I was hunting this ICT setup, practicing it, but Chris actually got just a regular Joe six pack. Hey, we traded against a liquidity level, and I think he said he saw some bullish divergences coming in off the lower time frame charts, and he pulled the trigger. So congratulations to Chris. It was interesting on this ICT experiment that I'm doing. Let a couple go at 2 to 1 on this trade that actually ended up working. Interesting how this trade offset the losses of these trades. And then you got one runner. And I don't know whether I'm interpreting this guy's setup correctly or not, but long and short of it here, if you do get a liquidity run, this is sort of when the trade window sort of officially ends. And I just put my take profit order on the final car up there. So anyway, it's a cute little first stab at this. And interestingly enough, you can see how the market's basically coming right back down to that level. And what you're probably going to find is there's going to be a big fight here. And if we accept back below this level, then we're probably back down into this trading range for the rest of the day. Anyway, we'll see how that develops. It was a good first initial stab of this setup. And if anything, why am I going through all this? You got to understand that constantly you should be, trying to expand your knowledge base. And here's a setup that I'm not really very familiar with, but I do see a lot of people on social media getting excited about it. So I was like, all right, we'll try and incorporate it into our trading plan. And I'll be more than happy to tell you about how the results go over the next. We're going to commit to doing this for 90 days, and I would strongly suggest you guys all try and do the same thing. You see the way that I've set up the screen here. We've got basically the euro, S&P, crude, gold. So we're gonna need to figure out like what are the appropriate windows, like because crude and gold they open up much earlier than the stock market, and of course the euro is trading all day and night long. So it'll be an interesting experiment nonetheless. Um, Kind of gave myself permission a little bit to go down this road today because, frankly speaking, there just isn't a hell of a lot going on econ wise. So, the headline to start the day: European shares start the week slightly higher. Oh, well, that's exciting. Interesting. Japan and actually, I guess the futures themselves they ticked up. They were actually only up about 30 or 40 points, or maybe about 50 points when I first looked at it this morning. Where is my sheet? Nope, that's school stuff. Where is my spreadsheet? Maybe over here. Hey, here we go. So starting out today, when I get up and it's sort of like, okay, what's going to drive the market? I always like to just see what Japan's done overnight, up 70 points, not really that big of a deal. Europe seemed to catch a bit of a bid. China being China, I would just, I think China's an old story. It's probably yesterday's news. So you can see here at 11 a.m. my time, there's the U.S. monthly budget statement. Of course, they're spending way more money than they have. And this is half the problem of their debt downgrades is it just doesn't look like Biden has any interest whatsoever in trying to get his act together and sort of be fiscally responsible. I will say I am warming to this one gentleman on social media who puts out videos, and I'm sure he has a newsletter and the whole thing. So if you feel like subscribing, I hope I get some sort of referral income or something from it. But I thought this gentleman, and I've shown you his videos before. The only problem is it's such a bitch to find all this crap on YouTube. It's such a pain in the butt to get to this stuff. How the hell am I going to get there? I don't know what the hell this is. God, YouTube, you're such a pain in the ass. Where is it? I don't want to waste these people's time. All right. This guy. So, he went on at length talking about what a stupid idiot that Janet Yellen is and how she completely fucked over our country. But oh well, it is what it is. It was that done on purpose? That's another question altogether. Klaus and all that stuff. You want Brian to get on himself all riled up. Let's talk about Klaus and all that nonsense. But in essence, and if you want something fun to watch in the market, pull up credit default swaps because it turns out that there's actually a growing consensus in the market that the United States of America may actually default on its debt obligations here. So I thought that was interesting. From a country that theoretically shouldn't have a problem with this, of course, all the politics out of the sort of right-wing part of the U.S. government. This gentleman, he's kind of like, you know what? Enough is enough. These socialists are absolutely out of control. We're just not going to approve any more spending. Sorry. It's just simple as that. And so as a result, there might be some great impasse. And like I said, this guy's saying, get ready because the market is expecting that we might actually go into default here. So could be a pretty exciting couple of weeks here ahead of us. From what I understand, U.S. government could potentially go into shutdown mode here. And of course, that's all about does the U.S. government default on its debt obligations? I'm sure, calmer heads will prevail and everything will sort of come out in the wash. But as it stands right now, I do find it kind of amusing that the market actually was rallying on this morning. Maybe they're rallying because maybe some politician said something to the effect that, well, it's not so bad. We're going to do this, this, and this and fix the situation. I don't know. Well, we will see. Only time will tell, as they say. Um, if we look at the actual stock market itself, you can see it's off a quarter of a point here on the ES. We've got the Dow actually up and Nasdaq's down about a quarter of a point. I've been sort of talking to you guys, and this is the way that I've been interpreting the price action is I think that there's some sort of inverted, actually, this even looks even better now. And tomorrow, Tuesdays, we'll have our Stock Pickers Club meeting. David O is our resident head and shoulders guru. And it'll be interesting to get his feedback on how this looks. I still like the idea that we just consolidate here for maybe a week or two while we go through this impasse. Maybe we have a day or two where we come back down and test these lows and everybody's screaming bloody murder. Who knows? See, the stock market actually is ticking up here now. But if we do go through these highs in earnest, very rarely do we find that these inverted head and shoulders like to have really cockeyed necklines. I think I would prefer to see a symmetrical neckline. So we'll see what happens here. If we start surging up through here, this might actually even be an AB equals CD, which takes us like way up top here. Who knows? And maybe, the stock market kind of likes the idea that the politicians just simply can't get their act together and the Fed's going to come to the rescue and print a whole bunch of money. Who knows? But I would say that if you have access to it, I don't hear in front of me. I wasn't thinking about it. Maybe in the after party we can throw something together, but we should probably look at those credit default swap prices and how that's looking. I would imagine that's probably part of the reason why gold is catching a pretty sizable bid here. Is people are actually starting to get seriously concerned about whether the U.S. is actually going to default. So anyway, I thought that was pretty pressing news here for today. But I do find it interesting that the stock market is trying to push higher here, even through that. I don't know whether I'm giving you a hell of a lot to work with here today, folks. I find it interesting that Bitcoin and Litecoin here are coming off, even though Ethereum still looks relatively positive. I suppose that's that image right there, that dominance. While the total market cap keeps moving higher. Actually, we're kind of a darling, kind of a fun one. Usually when Bitcoin is topping out and crapping out, this guy usually does really well. So Bitcoin was kind of not doing a hell of a lot back here. And then Bitcoin started to get its act together and started to ramp, and this thing started to come off in earnest. And now you can see this guy's got bullish divergences working. Willie's stupid. RSI's trying to W out here, which I suppose the W in itself means that the bears have been stopped. So another W that comes in on RSI will give you your actual buy signal. So, if this thing is trying to turn and, it's turning in reload zones, what a big surprise. Maybe that's a note that Bitcoin needs to take a bit of a pause. So you can see, generally speaking, call it a Monday, I guess. I don't know. Quite a bit of red sort of sprinkled throughout the market. There is little pockets of positivity, but a lot of the names that have been going zooming up here recently, you can see they're backing off a bit. And there's our fun little come Inu. Holy Jesus. Hey, Zug, you must be a happy camper here today. Look at Zug's FXS. Looks like it's about to take another jump higher here. So anyway, you can see the big W there. That W has confirmed too. So we should be looking for $10 on this thing at the bare minimum. And if things really get going up there around 14. So keep your eyes peeled there. That kind of looks like a cup and handle trying to form there, right? Obviously you want to see some volume breakout. Momentum looks okay. Willie is not stupid yet. So yeah, we could see a surge higher. So that's kind of interesting. There are fun little pockets of enjoyment out there. That's basically your market for a Monday morning. I hope you guys got some value out of that. I was really sort of scratching my head here today, kind of going, well, what the hell am I going to talk to these good people about? So slow and steady wins a race. Don't take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job is. It should be an interesting week or two ahead of us with this potential U.S. government shutdown and the potential for the U.S. default. And other than that, I think we'll head on over to the after party. We did have a few, well, I guess one question in particular that probably we could take a few minutes to review in the after party, but it might be a pretty quiet session here today. Who knows? Anyway. All right. Have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Remember what your number job is. Don't take no wooden nickels. And if Zugi ever gets excited about an idea, you better go and buy some because you're probably going to make some money. All right. All the best. Actually, I went and bought something. Was it this? Yeah, it was this one. There's another one of Zug's ideas, a crazy guy. Looks like he's catching a bid here today, too. Go figure. All right. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. Bye for now.